Sheikh Omar, we're going to ask you a few questions. You've only got 10 seconds to answer them.
Oh man.
The first one is your favorite qari of the Quran, your favorite reciter.
My favorite reciter of the Quran, easily, Mahr al-Mu'aykali. I absolutely love praying behind him, and I prayed behind him in the Haram for the first time in Hajj 7 years ago, and I fell in love with him. He was reading Surah Al-Waqi'ah, and so I even tried to imitate him with my recitation. I do a very poor job, but I absolutely love his recitation, Sheikh Mahr al-Mu'aykali.
Oh, we're going to have to get a recording of your recitation. All right, Sheikh Omar. If there was one person who has passed away, and it can't be the Prophet ﷺ, but you'd love to have dinner with them and sit there and have a robust discussion with them, who would it be?
So this is someone that I did not already know, right? So someone that along the way, right?
Someone who, it could be from history, yeah.
I would say that would probably be Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anhu. I love Uthman radiallahu anhu. I absolutely love Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And he's actually my first halaqah. My first halaqah in my life was about Uthman radiallahu anhu, because I felt like he was so wronged. Like, you know, in the capacity of this discussion of activism, he did so much for the ummah, but it's like Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, Umar radiallahu anhu, and then Ali radiallahu anhu. It's like Uthman radiallahu anhu gets outshined. And I think that's part of how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made his work so pure, is that everything he did for the ummah, and he was so wronged, prohibited from the same things that he did for the sake of Allah for the ummah. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ said, should I not be shy from a person that even the angels are shy from? So if the Prophet ﷺ would sit up in the presence of Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu, I would love to meet Uthman radiallahu anhu and sit with him and just tell him, like, I appreciate you. Jazakallahu khairah. I appreciate you for all that you did for the ummah.
What's a question you'd ask him?
I'd ask him for advice I'd ask him for advice on how to deal with slander, because he was just slandered so much. You know, subhanAllah, and this is something that when people say things of us that are untrue, it hurts us. You know, it does hurt us. We're human beings, and especially when those things are not true of us, right? And with Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu, the way that the slanders about Uthman radiallahu anhu spread, and he was accused of things that stood in complete opposite of everything that he had done, right? Nepotism, accused of money, misappropriating money. And he's, you know, what does he say? Like, I was the one that expanded them. I financed the expansion of the Prophet ﷺ's masjid. Like, I was the one when they prohibited him from drinking from the same wells that he purchased fi sabilillah. So I would ask him for advice. Like, what would you say to someone who deals, who has dealt with just a tiny portion of what you have dealt with, and who has done a tiny portion of what you have done of khair? I would ask him for nasiha, for advice, for his little brother. Like, yeah, Uthman, you dealt with so much, you know, in that regard. Like, what would you advise me in this regard?
And Sheikh Omar, if there was someone who is alive who you would like to have dinner with, who would that be?
Actually, Sheikh Bilal Asad, Australia.
Oh, really? Why? I'm in his hometown, by the way.
I love Sheikh Bilal. I can't believe I never met him. I love Sheikh Bilal.
SubhanAllah.
My kids listen to him all the time. That's one thing, and I heard his voice all the time. But I'll tell you that when I saw the interview, because I connected with Sheikh Bilal recently, and I hope he won't mind me mentioning this. Inshallah, he won't. But I heard the interview about the death of his son, rahimahullah ta'ala, and the pain and the way he just explained his trial and tribulation in that regard. And that interview, it was an Australian interviewer, by the way. I don't remember the platform, but it was viral. And I actually asked Sheikh Shadi for his number. And I reached out to him and we connected. And I told Sheikh Bilal, I said the first, and so now he's going to hold me to it. And so I'll be in Australia soon, inshallah. Let me put it to you that way, because I told him, I said, as soon as COVID's over, like, I really want to come see you, because like I absolutely love that man. Like, al-arwah junudun mujannada, the souls are like conscripted soldiers. Like I feel like the love that I have for him is like a brother that I've known my entire life. Like I love that man, and subhanAllah, I never got to sit with him in person. So yeah, so when you see him, give him a hug for me.
I will, don't worry.
And tell him that I love him for the sake of Allah. He knows that, as we've been in contact. And inshallah ta'ala, I hope that we'll be able to connect soon with the night ta'ala.
Inshallah. I'll drive you from the airport. 3 last questions.
No, after this interview, I'm not talking to you anymore. I want to see Sheikh Bilal. I don't want to hang out with you.
3 last questions. Your favorite breakfast?
I love like omelets, veggie egg white omelets, like just omelets and hash browns. I mean, it's very American, right? But if I get into the Arabic foods, I'd say it's baba ghanouj. Good baba ghanouj is pretty awesome. Like when you're in the Arab world, and when I go to Jordan all the time, just kind of go around the corner and get some fresh falafel to dip in some hummus and some baba ghanouj. That's pretty good.
And the last book that you read?
Bismillah.
Not another plug, surely.
No. This is not my plug. It's actually, I was actually showing this to some of the people yesterday. This is a book by Dr. Hatem Bazian called Erasing the Human, Collapse of the Post-Colonial World and the Refugee Immigration Crisis. Very good book by Dr. Hatem Bazian.
And final question. If I was to say an embarrassing masjid moment, and I'm sure you've had many masjid moments in general, but an embarrassing masjid moment, what does that look like in the life of Sheikh Omar?
Where do I start? I'll just share with you the first one that comes. And I was giving khutbah in my old masjid in New Orleans. So the women's section is above the men's section. It's like a mezzanine, right? So if a woman is at the front of the women's section, she's like almost right above the minbar, okay? And the phone rang while I was giving khutbah, and it rang for a while. And then I said, brothers and sisters, if you can please put your phones on silent. She was an older lady. She answered the phone. And hello, she just had a full-on conversation, and I turned red. I was like, I don't know what to do with the situation. So do I get a little harder with her, or do I just let it go? So I decided to just kind of wait for the sisters. Like, you heard some sisters get into like an uproar over it. So that was one. I know you asked for one, but this is not embarrassing, but I'll say one of the most beautiful moments, which was a crazy moment, was in the same masjid. There was a man that walked in with a military uniform, Keith. I put a picture of him one time online. I'll tell his story properly one day. But Keith was a soldier. He walked in with his full uniform and his guns. And everybody ran away. And I just kind of froze up. And I was sitting and I was leaning on the minbar. And I looked at him and I was just like, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. I was sure he was about to kill me. Instead, he took me, he said, I need to talk to somebody. We spoke on the side. He had just come back from Iraq, and he said, what those people had, I want. Oh, wow. Isn't that beautiful? He said, I need to know your religion, your faith. What those people had, I want. And I just got back. And he actually took Shahada that night, full uniform and everything. He took Shahada that night. And when the people, so this is the funny part of it. When someone takes Shahada, what does everyone do? What did they do?
Allahu Akbar,
in Australia, Allahu Akbar.
Surely he got scared after that.
And he he was about to start shooting. And so I said, well, calm down. I was like, relax. That's how we congratulate. And he cried and he said to me on my shoulder, he said when we used to hear that in Iraq, that meant run. In Iraq, more precisely, that meant run. And he said, now God is calling me to him with those words. So that was a beautiful moment.
Sheikh Omar, Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much for your
Wa
time, and inshallah we'll do another episode very, very soon.
Barakallahu feek. Jazakallah khair. It's a pleasure.